Hello, everybody. As you connect with us, and thank you for joining. Some new people have joined tonight, I know, so very excited for that. And of course, this week we have a special guest. We have a very special guest. You all know who it is because you wouldn't have been here otherwise, I'm sure. It, of course, is Michael Holding, the legendary fast bowler, live from the Caribbean. And what a career he's had, actually. But first as obviously Whispering Death and part of the West Indies fast bowling conveyor belt, and then as an incredibly salient and clever broadcaster. And actually, I would like to mention also the book he's written in a moment. But of course, you'll love it. You're here as part of the world's best cricket club. Michael Holding, welcome to the world's best cricket club, modestly named. Great to have you on.
Thank you very much.
Where are you?
Where are you exactly? I'm in Grand Cayman.
Lovely.
The Caribbean is pretty big, you know, lots of islands. So I'm in Grand Cayman, which is by plane is about 45 minutes from Jamaica, 8.5 hours from the UK. British Airways flies here directly from the UK. It's a British overseas territory. So, you know, everything is good. How
long have you been living there and in the winters?
I started coming here on a more regular basis in October 2018 years. I was living in Miami. And those who have read my book will know why I'm here.
Because you don't like Miami much, I take it. Well, or you do like Grand Cayman.
I wasn't a fan of what was happening in the United States of America around that time.
Right.
Put it that way. Let's put it kindly.
Great. Yeah, well, that's a nice way of putting it. You mentioned this book, and I mean, I've read it and found it absolutely fascinating and really educational as well. So many things that I've learned. I mean, you make the point in here that education is at fault in a lot of the misapprehensions and myths that are, and you know, mistakes that people, the conception that people have about the whole slavery and everything. And that, you know, education is something that needs changing, and that can actually change people's perception. And I mean, it's a really compelling book. I highly recommend anyone on this club who hasn't picked it up and read it yet, Why We Kneel, How We Rise, which you wrote last year with Ed
Hawkins,
co-writer Ed Hawkins, who's a very good writer. I mean, it's really interesting and just incredibly well researched, actually. And, you know, there's the detail is fantastic. So my first question to you tonight is, you know, you had an amazing career as a fast bowler and obviously as part of the West Indies all-conquering team. You then had a meteoric career as a broadcaster, everybody hanging on your every word. And now you've written an award-winning book. So which of those things are you the most proud of?
I'm very proud of the way the book has been received, Simon. You just mentioned that you have learned a lot from the book. That is why the book was written, because I recognize that the education that we all got, and when I say all, I mean everyone, irrespective of race and irrespective of where you grew up, wasn't totally correct. The education we all got was slanted towards one narrative, that narrative of white superiority. And everything that people of color and Black people did was hidden. So many great achievements that were hidden from history and just not taught or slighted. You know, I mentioned on Sky Yaza the fact that the light bulb, once you mention the light bulb, who do people talk about? Thomas Edison. No one ever spoke about Lewis Howard Latimer, who invented the carbon filament without which the light bulb could not work. Nobody talks about him. Why? He's a Black man. Nobody talks about Onesimus, the man who introduced inoculations to the Western world. Why? A Black man, a slave. Nobody talks about him. You hear many, many years later on about a British doctor that experimented with smallpox and cowpox. He came long after Onesimus, who introduced inoculation in Boston when the smallpox was ravaging the city. Nobody talks about the fact that it was a Black man who first set foot on the North Pole. yes, I could keep going.
Well, you do. I mean, you tell lots of these stories in this book. I mean,
yes.
when did you first get the idea to do it, the book?
Well, I never intended to do the book. That's the first thing. You know, when Brian Henderson called me, I was still here in the Caribbean during COVID.
The Sky producer.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes, we're not even sure that we were going to have cricket in 2020. And he called me and told me about the meeting they had with Ebony and how Ebony broke down in the meeting, talking about her experiences, and they wanted to do this filming of both of us talking about Black Lives Matter and our experiences. I said, absolutely. And I thought when I said what I said on Sky, that was enough. That was good enough. People would understand what I'm saying, and I wouldn't need to go any further. But then I started to get a lot of feedback from people all over the world, and people encouraging me to say more and to do more. And eventually, I succumbed, you may say. And I said, okay, let's go ahead and do this book. Because I had a lot of things that I knew, but then I had to go and do a lot of research. And I was extremely nervous about doing this book. Because on this topic, you have got to be pinpoint. You can't be beating around the bush. You can't be writing things and then people tear it apart and say this is not true and that is rubbish and that is speculation. So I had to do a lot of research and make sure it was totally factual, to make sure no one could pull at any loose strings. And that book came out in July 2020. And I know a lot of people would love to be pulling that book apart, and they can't. Because it's not a book, as I said, of complaints and a book of opinions. It's a book of facts. And no one can tear facts apart. Everybody has their own opinion, but facts are facts unless you're that other fella that has alternative facts.
Yeah, and I mean, you're right, actually, because I certainly aren't able to tear it apart. I found it thoroughly convincing and factually. There's a lot of stuff in there, and there's a lot of stuff about your own life as well. So clearly, you are very proud of it. What's next? The Michael Holding documentary, or sort of telling the story of the book? I mean, it would make a compelling documentary.
That's not up to me, though. Yes, I am not in that field. I wrote the book. I know if someone thinks it is worth going that far, fine. But I have written the book. I'm trying to get this book read by as many people as possible. And when I say that, I'm not trying to talk about getting sales. I have a friend in the UK, in the Midlands, who bought 45 of those books and put them in 45 libraries in the Midlands because he too wants the book to be read. So it's not about sales. People can go to these libraries, take the book, read it, put it back so that others can read it as well. Because it's about education, and that's what I'm trying to do with this book. To educate everyone, black and white, brown and green and pink, everyone. Because as I said, a lot of things we were taught a lot of half-truths, and we were basically brainwashed into believing certain things.
No, I completely agree. And well, you know, great stuff that you've done it, and good luck with the continued sales of it, and getting the message across is what you're really about. Sorry, very remiss of me. I didn't mention Simon Mann is here. A rare appearance of Simon Mann in our club. Well, on a Wednesday night.
Well, a rare appearance of late. I apologise for that. Well, one question I wanted to ask Mikey, actually. I mean, you say it's not about sales, but how many people have read it? I mean, how many copies have you sold? What has been the impact of the book?
It has been very well received, Simon. I don't know exactly how many books have been sold, because the last time I got a count from the publishers was last year, and we had already sold 25,000. So, you know, it was absolutely brilliant for a book. And I'm hoping that, you know, it will keep going, that people will keep on wanting to read this book. And I know people that have read it and have then passed it on to others and say, you have got to read this book, or you have got to get one yourself. And that is what I'm hoping for, that it will spread. And people all over the world, I've had people in the Netherlands that have read this book. I have someone in Italy that is thinking about possibly publishing it in Italy, I don't know.
So sort of like a supplementary edition or something. In Italian, do you mean?
In Italian, yes.
Right, brilliant.
So I'm hoping that this thing spreads, because this is a worldwide problem. This is not an England, Australia, USA, South Africa, Caribbean problem. It is a worldwide problem. And the more people we can get on board to understand what this problem is and how to solve the problem, the better we will be. A lot of people don't understand the problem though here. A lot of people are quite happy with the way the world is right now because they are comfortable. But I am absolutely sure there are more people that would love to see the problem solved than there are that don't care.
Mm. Well, listen, people, we've got lots of, I'm sure, willing buyers tonight. So it's called Why We Kneel, How We Rise. And it was out last year, and it is a great read, actually, really interesting. And I mean, it'll keep you awake at night for sure. It's definitely not one of the books like I produce, which is generally an insomnia cure. So we've got lots of people, I'm sure, want to ask questions, but we're just going to sort of delve into your life a little bit first. And by the way, welcome to anyone who's new to this club. We've been running it for over a year. And it's a £3 entry fee to join. We have a live event every week. We've had an absolute catalogue of fantastic guests. I think, Michael, you're definitely the most interesting guest we've had. But we've had Beefy, and we've had Cookie and Root and all sorts. We've had some fascinating people. So go to worldsbestcricketclub.com, which is the site that we're launching this club on every week. And there's also a great WhatsApp group, which is active all over the world with all sorts of interesting comments and stats and observations about the world of cricket. So those who are not members of this club, please go and look at that, worldsbestcricketclub.com, and join us, because we've got a sequence of interesting guests coming up. Now, Michael, what I want to talk to you about just for a little bit is fast bowling. And
Sure.
I'm just going to play a little bit of the famous spell from the Oval from 1976. I'm just going to sort of talk through it, really. I mean, first thing that really struck me, I mean, you can talk over this as well, by the way. It's just a few clips of some of the wickets. But I'm just going to sort of... sorry, I'm just actually changing the sound setting on here just so people can hear the commentary a little bit. Which I'm struggling with just for a second. Sorry, one sec. I'm just going to convert the sound over to... I can't see what I'm doing properly. Never mind. Right, anyway, so I'm just going to play this. What really strikes me about the first thing is the length of your run-up. I mean, very long, but I mean, did you always have it?
Yeah, basically, I always had a pretty long run-up, even from my school days. You know, when I got into international cricket, it got a little bit longer. I extended it a bit further.
Look at this. Look at this here. I mean, it's so beautiful. The great long strides are amazing.
Well, I got that rhythm from other things that I did at school. You know, I used to be a long jumper. Well, I tried all different things at school. And if you know yours are in long jump, you have got to get that run-up perfect to hit that board. A fraction of an inch of your goes over the front lights and no jump. I don't want to be jumping too far behind the board either, you're giving away distance. So I got my run up from and my rhythm from that. And it helped me a great deal with bowling because, you know, with such a long run, you want to make sure that before you even get to halfway in that long run up, that you are no longer concentrating on the run up, that you know everything is good, you know it's perfect, and you're just concentrating now on where you want to put the ball.
So you're running through England here. This is a classic. I mean, I know it's the Night Watchman, but it's Derek Underwood. Sorry, actually, that's Chris Boulderstone, who got a pair in that game, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
This is Greg. This is Tony Gregg.
Oh, it was basically a full toss that got rid of Greggy, but an in-swinging full toss.
That's the one that I like for the Derek Underwood one. And then this one, Dennis Amiss.
He had made a double century by the time he got dismissed that way, though, because if you remember, or those who are old enough to remember, Dennis Amiss adopted a new batting stance for that series. And in that test match, he shuffled a long way across and exposed his leg stump. And initially, we were all trying to hit the leg stump. I did eventually, but after 200 odd runs, because we had two leg slips. So anything that beat the two leg slips was gone for 4. And the second innings, we decided we were going to abandon that tactic. And the ball outside the off stump, just around the off stump, and got him all caught in the slips.
The classic batsman's dilemma, actually, trying to deal with the bowlers kind of working out a new ploy. I'm just going to tell you something here. I actually I've done a little bit of sort of geeky analysis on this delivery. Derek Underwood, clean bowled, holding for, I don't know, 2 or something. I've worked out that ball took 13 frames to hit the stumps, right? Which is 0.454 of a second. And basically, you can work out from that the overall speed of the ball, the average speed of the ball, all the way down the wicket, not from your hand, but all the way down the wicket, was 80 miles an hour, right? So that doesn't sound much, but of course, the way they measure speed now is the speed from the hand right at the start of the release. So it's the fastest speed you can possibly get is when it's come out from the hand. Now, I've got a delivery. So I said 13 frames, right?
Yes.
Now, I've got a delivery here from, damn it, I'm just trying to find it, sorry.
You're into your job as analyst now.
I'm into my job as analyst now, and I'm just trying to find
it. But not as technician.
No, well, here we are. Well, it's quite hard being the British. This is a ball. Watch this ball.
Jofra Archer has been the speed sensation of the Ashes.
Right, that ball I think it was in the oval test of the Ashes, was also took 13 frames from the release to hitting the wicket, and that came up at 94 miles an hour on the actual speed gun. So by a sort of process of rather rough science, I reckon that ball to Underwood, first early in the morning, knocking over the night watchman, I reckon that was about 92 miles an hour. Are you impressed?
Well, I was impressed with the 14 wickets, Yaza. I'm not too fussed about the pace.
All that time, all that work I've done to make out that you were as fast as Jofra Archer. And
I'm not a Darren Goff that keeps on looking up at the scoreboard to see what pace the last delivery was. I just want to know if he got out.
Anyway, it was an amazing spell of bowling, 14 wickets, best ever West Indies figures in your whole year, the whole sort of history of the West Indies. So, were you always fast? You know, when did that start?
Well, as a kid, I used to bowl off breaks. You know, before I started playing cricket, where you had umpires and teams and such, because we used to play a game in the Caribbean and in Jamaica in particular that we call Catch It Shubby, which was an informal game with no umpires, no officials anywhere at all, just going and having fun in the park. And how you got to bat was getting whoever was batting out by hitting the stumps. If someone has caught the ball, the person who took the catch would bat. So you as a bowler didn't want to be working for other people. So you wanted to be hitting the stumps. So eventually, because I knew the guys were keeping their legs in front of the stumps to prevent themselves from being bowled, I decided I want to bowl fast. So if I hit them on the leg, it would hurt. And the next time I came up, they would recognize that, hey, I can't afford to get hit on my legs again. And they would leave the stumps a little bit more exposed. That is what helped me to then develop that sort of fast bowling instinct. And later on, of course, I just got quicker and quicker as time and life went on.
Is it true that there's a well-known steward at Lord's called Derek, and I can't remember his other name, and he's also from Jamaica, and he says that he used to play with you in a graveyard in Jamaica, play cricket. Did you play cricket in a graveyard ever? No.
No, I can't remember playing in a graveyard. I played it in a big park downtown Kingston that is now National Heroes Circle, where people in that particular era, everybody went there and played cricket, football, athletics, everything took place in that park. But I can't remember playing in a graveyard.
Okay, I'll have to go back to him and tell him he's telling porkies then. And when did you first realise that you had exceptional speed?
Well, at school, people used to tell me that, oh, this youngster, he's quick, and eventually by the time I got to 18, 19, I really saw that I was bowling fast, because a lot of the schoolboys who came to play against my school, Kingston College, they were pretty much batting in trepidation. And I remember actually bowling a ball once that hit a youngster from, I think the school might have been Arden. And I was flustered. I was thinking, oh, hell, this guy's hurt. And the umpire came to me, a nice man. Bell was his last name. I don't remember his first name. I'll never forget it. And he said to me, Mikey, you don't understand how quick you are. Please don't hurt these guys. And that is when I really realized, hey, I'm quicker than all these schoolboys and people can really get hurt.
How quick? Sorry, go on. Carry on.
how quick do you think you were, Mikey? I mean, there's a lot of talk these days.
I just told him.
Yeah, well, I know, but how quick do you think you are? I mean, there's a lot of talk these days. I mean, you speak to some modern players and they say, well, everything has got stronger, quicker, faster. You look at athletics, whatever. Those bowlers in the 1980s, 1970s, whatever, they can't be as quick as bowlers today. I mean, A, how quick do you think you were? And B, what do you think of that?
Well, let me answer what I think of what they are saying, first of all, Simon, because what I'd ask them is, do baseball pitchers get quicker? And the answer to that is no. And throwing a ball is a lot easier than bowling a ball. Everybody will know the technicalities behind bowling and throwing. It's a lot easier. And yet the baseball pitchers are not getting quicker and quicker and quicker each decade. So I don't know why they expect that fast bowlers will get quicker and quicker each decade. As for how quick I was, I don't know in miles per hour, but I know I have frightened a few people. I have hit a few helmets off people's head before they have moved. And not numbers 10 and 11. Alan Border in Perth, he can tell you about it. I hit his helmet off his head and he was almost still in his stance. And he looked at me shocked as if, what was that? So you can just go by the reaction of the people that I have bowled against. I can't tell you I was 10 miles an hour or 100 miles an hour. But I know I was effective enough with my pace to frighten people.
How did it make you feel knowing you had
Powerful.
that ability?
Powerful.
No, I don't mean hitting people. I mean, how did it make you feel?
I'm talking about bowling at that pace.
Yeah. You felt awful?
No, powerful.
Oh, powerful, sorry.
Powerful. When you bowl at that pace, Yaza, and you know people are coming out there in trepidation and they're worried about their health, you feel powerful. Not that you want to hit people, but already you're intimidating without even bowling a ball. So you feel powerful about that.
Actually, what I find quite interesting, but just one more point about your bowling, is if we just look at this ball here, notice actually not that much follow through. Look, very short follow through. You were probably just gliding to the wicket there anyway and not bowling flat out maybe. But I thought that's, you're not one of those bowlers who follows through all the way down the pitch like, I don't know, a Glenn McGrath, and then sort of stares at the batsman. You just turn around and walk back.
Yeah, well, I wasn't interested in staring at batsmen or talking to batsmen. My job was to bowl the ball and try and get somebody out. And I couldn't afford to follow through all the way down to the other end years. I had a long way to get back to my bowling back.
You'd have only managed 10 overs an hour if you'd had a long follow through, wouldn't you?
Exactly.
Brilliant. And I suppose my final question about the bowling is, did you ever feel, how did you feel as a fast bowler? Did it hurt every day? Did you get up excited? What was it like as a life as a fast bowler?
No, it did not hurt every day. I had a nice, smooth action. I wasn't a big, powerful man pounding in. I just saw there, I pretty much glided in. And eventually I did have a knee operation. But I didn't get up in the morning in pain and thinking, oh, I don't want to do this. Later on in life, yes, when I passed my 30s, getting close to retirement, I thought to myself, this is becoming hard work. But initially, all throughout my 20s, right up to 30, 31, I had absolutely no problems. I got up in the morning. Again, not every day you get up, you feel on top of the world. But I never got up in the morning and thought to myself, why am I doing this?
It's great to hear that. And you're a lucky man that you never had the pain. I'm just going to tell you one thing that I've never told you before. And that is when I wasn't bowling very well, I used to sometimes try and copy your run up and try and do that sort of sway from side to side. And that sort of the way you slung your arms back before you let go of the ball in that lovely rhythmical way. I tried to find that rhythm. And one day, when I hadn't had a very good time of it, I bowled in a Benson and Hedges semi-final, and I opened the bowling at Lord's. And first ball, I thought, right, I'm just going to think about myself being Michael Holding today, and I'm just going to run in like that. And I ran in, and I bowled the best ball of my whole life. It pitched middle and took out the off stump of Tim Robinson, right? First ball of the match, off stump, cartwheeling out the ground.
Start.
And I thought, wow, that's the way. I've cracked it. And I tried it again, and it never happened again. So I don't know. I went back to the old Simon Hughes methods after a while, and couldn't ever rediscover it. But just that one ball, I glimpsed greatness, but it was just a fleeting glimpse.
I think that's a message to all youngsters, just to tell them, don't try to copy others. Just do the best that you can do. Do what you do and try to be the best at it. No point in trying to copy other people.
You can pick up the stuff from them, but
yes,
try and
yeah,
copy them.
you
Be
can
yourself.
learn certain things. Yeah,
Yeah.
learn certain little nuances and things,
Sure.
but don't try to be the next Bob Willis or the next Jeff Thompson or whatever.
Simon.
What was that West Indies side, Michael? Was it the best side in the history of international cricket, of Test cricket?
Simon, that's a difficult question for me. One, I never tried to judge what I've never seen, so I only saw Test cricket starting in about 1973, 74. So whatever happened before that, I wouldn't try to judge. And being a part of that West Indies team, I'm going to be biased. I don't think there was any team that we played against in that era that had a chance of beating us in a series. Yes, we'd lose a Test match, which we didn't often lose anyway. But I never thought there was a team around that could beat us in a series. But again, I'm biased. I was a part of that team. I was a part of that build-up. So, I'll have to say that. But we had some great cricketers. I think people like Malcolm Marshall and Andy Roberts, Malcolm Marshall has always been well rated, always got high accolades. But I don't think Andy Roberts has been as rated as highly as he should be. And people trying to tell me that I was better than Andy Roberts, no, that can't wash. I got better after I retired, it would seem.
What about if you were playing in the modern game? I mean, I know you're not a great fan of T20, but do you think that you would be drawn into playing it simply because your skills would be perfect for T20? I mean, roaring in, difficult for players to smash it. You see someone like Jofra Archer, who's quick, who's accurate, and yet he's so sought after. Do you think you would be lured into playing lots of 2020 in the way that lots of West Indian players are today?
Definitely, Simon. I wouldn't even think about it. I went and played World Series cricket. I went and played World Series cricket for the money. Similarly, if I was a young man today, I would go and play in these 2020 leagues for the money as well. It's all about securing your future as a sportsman. Ask any cricketer, especially because cricketers don't make the sort of money that a lot of other sportsmen make. Ask any of them if they would turn down $1 million for 6 weeks or 8 weeks. No. And especially from the Caribbean, when you're earning $200,000 a year and somebody's going to tell you, come for 6 weeks and get $1 million. No. But what I would beg, especially cricketers from the Caribbean, to do is think about the fact that if they did not play for the West Indies, no one would have heard of them. Just think about that fact. So don't be that selfish where you decide that you're going to give everything to these 2020 leagues and nothing to the Caribbean, who made you, who made your name, got you prominence that someone would then want to buy you. That's all I'm asking. But there's no way I would ever tell a young cricketer, don't play in these 2020 leagues. No way. They have to secure their future.
Would you have enjoyed it? You think? I mean, you.
No, I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much as when going on tours and playing test match cricket. And no, I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much. But the mere fact that it is important to secure your future as a sportsman, I would have to go, Simon. I would have to go. There's no way I would have said no. It's not like South Africa where you have morality coming into play. This is just 2020 cricket. This is not thinking about apartheid and countries that do wrong things. This is just a matter of playing a form of cricket that pays a lot of money.
Well, England are heading off to the Caribbean very shortly for a test series. What about the current strength of the West Indies test match side? I mean, there's a huge amount of talent. A lot of it goes to T20 cricket and thrives in T20 cricket. I mean, I watched a bit of Jaden Seals, and he looks extremely promising young cricketer. Is he someone that can inspire this West Indies side, inspire a future generation of West Indies cricket to concentrate on Test cricket and be really successful in Test cricket?
I don't know if anyone can inspire youngsters in the Caribbean to concentrate on Test cricket. A lot of them want to play Test cricket, yes. But again, Simon, when they're approached by these 2020 leagues and offered a big salary, they can't say no. They're not going to say no. I would love to see, yes, enough of them being inspired to play cricket so that when some of them leave and go and play 2020, there's still enough talent around. There's still enough there for the selectors to select a good team from. But there's no way you can say, oh, I'm going to look at that youngster. Look how inspiring it is to play for the West Indies. I want to play for the West Indies and West Indies alone. No, they're not going to do that. Our problem is financial. If we could accumulate the amount of money or attract the amount of money that would pay our cricketers a lot better, it would be a lot easier for our board to come to a compromise with the players and work something out. Right now, the players can come to a compromise with the board, can work something out, but they would have to be making sacrifices, serious sacrifices in some instances. But finances, money. And this is where I know throw my hat in the ring in criticizing the ICC. Years ago, I know as a fact that Clive Lloyd suggested to the ICC that they need to have something like a slush fund that comes from cricket from all over the world that can help the poorer nations. This before 2020 started. And 2020 now has made things worse for these poorer countries. But the ICC, basically run by 3 countries, Australia, India, England, we know that. If officially it was that way, they disbanded it officially, but it's still unofficially being run by those 3 countries. 3 countries that are very selfish, don't want to see anything else or anybody else prosper. And I'm not afraid to say that.
Do you see anything changing on that front?
No.
And do you see anything changing for West Indies cricket?
No, I can't see it changing in a hurry. If you haven't got finances, Simon, you're not going to get very far. You'll produce a few good cricketers along the way, yes. You know, Alzarri Joseph, you're talking about Steele now. Alzarri Joseph, a few years ago, everyone was saying, oh, nice, promising young fast bowler. Perhaps he'll inspire others. Not really. Because he has given a lot of time to 2020 cricket as well. Others that have come along will do the same. Unless you have the money to pay them properly and get them an opportunity to earn good money playing for the West Indies, you're going to keep on losing them.
England haven't won in the Caribbean since 2004.
A long time.
Well, yeah,
yes.
Since 2004, won a Test series there. How do you see the future series, the series in March?
This series will be very interesting. No Broad, no Anderson. You know, young fast, well, not all of them will be young fast bowlers, but a new crop of fast bowlers going to the Caribbean to learn, in my opinion, how to bowl on pitches that are not as responsive as pitches in England. I think that will be a good learning process for them. I think the Caribbean cricketers will know, in the back of their heads, they will know that they have done well in the Caribbean against England in the past. They should be going into the series with a fair amount of confidence. And I think it should be an interesting battle. I still think England are favorites, but I think it will be an interesting battle with the Caribbean guys doing reasonably well.
Listen, we've been asking our questions for quite a long time now. I think it's time for our members to ask their questions. Pose their questions to Michael. Norts, who we got up first? There are lots of hands.
Well, I'm going to say, see, I got one eye on the clock. I got one eye on Michael's chores with his wife because he doesn't want to let his wife down, does he? Right, so I'm keeping on those questions. So I'm going to be Pushka in first because Pushka is Club Person of the Year.
And Pushka's living in Ranchi, Mikey, in India.
Okay, a very famous cricketer comes from that era, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah, and he's my schoolmate also.
Oh, good. Well, if you see him, send him my regards, please. And I hope he's enjoying his retirement.
Yeah. So, first of all, it's nice talking to you.
Same here, Pushpa.
Yeah. So my question is basically, I saw one video on YouTube. It's some Scarborough ODI. So I saw you throw a ball from long end right now and hit the wicket at the bowler's end and then as a non-striker end. So what was that moment? Because I saw 2 batters getting run out that time.
Yeah, but the umpire said not out Pushka. He said not out to both. And both of them were out. The one at the wicket keeper's end, he was out of his ground. And the one at the bowler's end, he was out of his ground. And the umpire said not out to both. Those days we didn't have the third umpire or television replays to adjudicate. So we just had to say, okay, you say not out, it's not out.
Okay, yeah. Thanks.
Great. Thanks very much, Pushkar. A bit of a niche question there about
the master statistician Pushkar with a very oblique observation there, but very good.
I remember it though. I remember it clearly up in Scarborough.
Right, I brought Richard in.
Richard, hi.
Hi everyone. Evening, Mike. Michael, great
Hi,
evening.
Richard.
Thanks for your time.
My pleasure.
My first question was going to be around Michael, around Andy Robertson, Malcolm Marshall being a Hampshire fan. But you've covered that now. So a few weeks ago, we were lucky enough to have Jeff Boycott with us, and he described the famous over in '81 at Bridgetown. I wonder what your recollections with that were. Am I right in thinking that was the first time you actually bowled the first over for the West Indies?
I didn't bowl. I don't think I bowled the first over, Richard, to be honest. I think Andy Roberts bowled the first over. And it was a matter of I'll briefly give you a quick story about it. Clive Lloyd came to me and said to me, which end would you like? And I told him whichever end Andy didn't want, because he was trying to say it's time for me to take over the lead bowling position. But Andy and myself are brilliant friends, bosom buddies. And I didn't take the idea of him pushing Andy aside. So I said, whichever end Andy doesn't want. So he said, okay, Andy will come with the wind. You will bowl into the wind, but you won't bowl more than, say, 3-4 overs and then follow Andy. That's why I charged in my first over, because I thought it would be a short spell. Let me just run in, and everything just clicked. But Andy bowled the first over of that innings.
Okay.
And then talk us through the over, Mikey. You must have seen it hundreds of times.
Well, to be honest, I haven't watched it a lot, because those days we didn't have the television coverage that we do have now. I think it was just a news crew that was at the ground, doing some filming for the Barbados television news. So it was a shot from a distance, no close-ups, anything like that. But what I remember is that the pitch had a good deal of grass on it. And it was hard, Barbados hard pitch, grass on the surface, and it was good. It was quick. And I remember a few balls whizzing past the outside edge of Jeffrey Boycott's bat. And then I think the fifth ball of the over hit his glove. He was trying to get behind the line of the ball, and it hit his glove and fell short of Big Bird in the gully. And I think Boycott must have, the tactician that he is, decided, no point in trying to get behind this ball. Let me see if I can play it from beside it. And he didn't shuffle across as far to the sixth delivery as he did for the fifth. And that's why he lost his off stump, because it was a well pitched up delivery that I don't know if it left him. It perhaps just straightened and hit the off stump when he was playing from inside of it.
Just quickly, one more question about fast bowling. Did you find that the harder you tried, the faster you tried to bowl, sometimes the less quick it was, and that actually it just happened? It was almost better if you glided and actually you produce your quickest bowling, or were you one of those bowlers who the faster you ran in and tried, the faster you bowled?
No, you can run in faster and bowl faster, as you know, as a fast bowler, but at the same time, you've got to be in control. If you are just steaming in and you're not in control of your body and your action and everything, the ball will go anywhere. I remember one incident when I was extremely upset about something that took place. I won't tell the country or the batsman. I don't want people to figure out what exactly where it was. And I was extremely upset about something that took place the delivery before. And I said, I'm just going to steam in and bowl as fast as I can. The ball went for 4 wides.
Wow. Gosh. So actually, it was one shouldn't antagonize you. Oh, no, actually, sorry. One should antagonize you, because you weren't, like, if you antagonize someone like Glenn McGrath, he's going to just get you. But maybe in your case, you actually would bowl better if you were calmer and just enjoying the rhythm.
Yeah, but that incident took place very early in my career. As time went on, I learned to control my aggression a lot more. I got angry a lot of times on a cricket field. Some umpiring decisions that took place throughout my career. I got angry a lot of times, but I controlled that aggression and did what I had to do with control. But that incident I referred to was very, very early in my career, the first 2 years of my career.
Great. Okay. Who's next? Norts, who are we going to go to next?
Well, I know that Floyd Steadman is in the room. So I am, for relevancy and the fact that he's joined us ex-Saracens, I'm bringing him in very quickly. So Hello, Floyd. The floor is yours.
Hi, Floyd. We know your history. You can tell us actually a little bit about it if you like. I know you're a great prominent Scrum half, and you've done a lot of work in the EDI area recently. So great to have you on. Off you go.
Thanks very much indeed, and welcome everyone. So very quickly, my history. I'm an ex-rugby player, played for Saracens for 10 seasons, captain for 4 seasons. Mikey, I play in a position where there's never been another black English-born player in my position, scrum half. So that's one of the key positions. It's like the quarterback in American football.
Yeah, interesting.
And I've also, after my rugby, worked in private education. I've been a headmaster in 4 private schools. So again, you don't get many people that look like us being the boss in the private sector. And like you, I've released a book that came out last October. And like you, I've had Sky Sports and others do documentaries. So I've been very, very, very honoured. My question, just a quick one. Over the last 2 years or so, there's been an awful lot in terms of EDI in sport, and there's been a lot of talking. What have you seen, if anything, that's been progress? And you can say, yes, we are moving in the right direction in this area, Mikey.
Well, I think it is obvious that we're moving in the right direction, Floyd. And, so many things that have taken place recently that would not have happened, say, 20, 15 years ago. A lot of things that I see companies are doing now, definitely trying to diversify their staff and look at the way they do their business. I get the impression that they are waking up, they are realizing that things need to change, and they are willing to change. I don't think it's just change because they are being forced to change. I think they're willing to change because they want to change. As I said before, I think there are a lot of good people out there who recognize that things need to change and they are willing to try and change. It's going to be slow, but there is progress and things are getting better. And I refer, when people start saying, oh, nothing has changed, every time an incident happens, I have a lot of guys in the UK, West Indian background that I keep in touch with, some guys I played with, some guys I just know. And every time something happens where a black person or a person of color is victimized or something goes wrong, they say, oh, Mikey, nothing is changing. And I have to remind them of where we're coming from, because we always have to look at where we're coming from. Don't just look at where we are. And Adam Goodes, the Australian rules footballer who retired in his 20s because of racism, he related that when I interviewed him for the book. He said he got frustrated and he said to himself and his people, nothing is changing. We'll never, ever get justice. And his elders had to sit him down and say, Adam, you cannot say that. Just think about where we are coming from. The indigenous people of Australia only became human beings in the 60s.
Yeah.
They were part of flora and fauna before the 60s. They were never a part of the census. Now they can go to university. Now they can own businesses. And the government, in fact, has stipulated, has mandated that whatever contracts that they give out to private enterprise, a certain percentage have got to go to companies owned by indigenous people. So that is progress. You'll still find you walking down the street and somebody passes some racist remark. You still find somebody being victimized, but it is getting better. As I said on Sky, when I spoke on Sky News, I don't expect to live to see equality, because something that has been going on for centuries is not going to change. Can't say change, it's changing, but it won't be corrected in a decade or two. It will take a long time. It will take a change of people's mindset. Remember what I said before, and nobody can contradict this. We were brainwashed into believing certain things. Even me as a young man, I was brainwashed into believing that Jesus Christ was a white man with blonde hair and blue eyes, until I got enough sense to learn enough history to realize that the time in history when that man was supposed to have lived, it is impossible for him to have looked like that. But that is what they told us, because that is what you must aspire to. That is greatness. So we have to re-educate ourselves, all of us.
Floyd, have you noticed a change quickly? Have you noticed any progress? He's been muted, has he?
Floyd needs to unmute. Sorry, there you go.
Floyd, you've got to unmute.
Yeah, third attempt. Can you hear me now, guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
Excellent. There's no question that, as Mikey said, it's intergenerational. It takes time. My frustration is I've noticed an awful lot, particularly in the last 2 or 3 years, but a lot of the younger people are frustrated and they want things to happen quickly.
Yep.
And I'm saying, no, slow down.
Yep.
For real change, we've got
Patience.
to make sure that we do it right, and it's going to take time.
And the change that we need, Floyd and folks, is not forced change, or they say, I have to do this, so let us do it. It is change that we need, that people understand why the change has to take place and why they should make this change. When you teach people, or for instance, you send somebody to church, oh, I have to come to church, I have to learn this. They don't go there willingly and actually participate. They go because they're forced to go. They go to and do an activity because they are forced. It's not the same as if they want to go and they recognize that they need to go. So that is the change I'm looking for, not forced change that everybody thinks, oh, I have to do this. If people are looking over my shoulder. No, I don't want that change. I want people to willingly change because they recognize that change is good and they're doing the right thing.
And you're absolutely right, Mikey. And what's interesting is that your approach and my approach is being very honest, being very authentic, but we're not being very aggressive. So we're not turning off the people we need to win over.
You cannot afford to have a toxic environment.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I say to a lot of people. You cannot afford to have a toxic environment. The book that I wrote, I got some things that if I had put them in that book, it would have turned people off. I know some people got turned off by a few little incidents, but I had to put certain things. But if I had put some other things, it would have turned people off because it was so disgusting. And I don't want that. I'm not trying to be confrontational, and I'm not trying to embarrass people or anything like that. I need people to recognize, though, exactly what the situation is.
Mikey, can I just push back a little and say that
Sure.
You're absolutely right about how we need to make this change.
Yes.
But the concern is that a lot of it's coming from on high. You know, cricket clubs, rugby clubs, we're all being told that we need to focus on EDI. And there are a lot of people that have been pushed into the limelight. They don't know what they're doing, and they need guidance. And if we could just slow down and just take it a little more gently, I think that might be a better approach. Because I think because the government is saying, you have to do this, I think some people are going to have, they're going to be threatened by that.
And also, I've spoken about this as well. Do not tick boxes. Do not put somebody in a position, oh, we have 11 white old men on this board. We need to find a black face, or we need to find a woman. No, put people there that belong there. As I said, when I spoke to Makaya and Tina and the chapter with Makaya and Tina and talking about the quota system in South Africa, if you put people into positions where they're incapable of operating and incapable of doing a good job, you're doing two bad things. One, you're embarrassing that person. And two, you're setting back the entire system by people who don't want to see change, looking and say, see, I told you, they can't do it. So that is counterproductive for people who are looking for real change.
This is a really good discussion. I don't want to kind of to stop it really, but Floyd, I'm actually planning. No, listen, no, it's not. I wanted to just say, Floyd, I'm planning to do a more detailed discussion about this in a couple of weeks with some South Asian cricketers or people from South Asian origin at a cricket club in West London. And we're going to mount a really kind of detailed investigation and discussion debate about this whole subject. So if I can connect with you afterwards, maybe Floyd and Mikey, you can be involved too if you have time, but later on another date. But it's a really good subject, and I want to try and educate people more and kick on the work that you guys have done so brilliantly. So thank you for enlightening us on that issue, and hopefully we can do more to help and get progress even further. Let's Floyd, thank you very much for your contribution there. Can we move on to the next question, because I know we're running out of time a little bit.
Yeah, who we got next? And one thing we normally have is a quiz at the end, but we're actually going to abandon the quiz tonight because we want to get as many questions in as possible. So who have we got next?
Right, I'm bringing Paul. I'm bringing Paul in because Paul's a proper Michael Holding fanboy, proper fanboy.
Yeah, I was 10 when you first came, when you were here in '76, and it was kind of the fast bowlers were the things that really ignited me into cricket. As it happens, I grew up to be a 5'6" and what my mum would describe as stocky. So I went into the batting, the batting game.
A lot easier. Technically not easier, but physically easier.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, it is a privilege to talk to you tonight, Michael. But what I was really going to ask was about your commentary and how much influence you had around what I would say some subtle and not so subtle use of language there, where, for example, I think there are some times when, for example, fielding, for example, if there's a misfield, if it's perhaps a white fielder, it might be described as a misfield. But if it's a black fielder, it might be described as lazy, which is a difference there. And also the term a mankad, which people in England and Australia in particular think is something evil, but in fact it's a run out. And I've always hated the fact that people don't like a mankad because it's just a run out and it's bad. It's terrible from the batsman, basically. When you were in the commentary box, did you ever try to re-educate the people there and the way that they commentated on these things?
Paul, to be honest, I don't remember. I can't recall in any sort of slight of language that was used when I was in the commentary box. You know, it might have happened and it just went over my head because when I'm in the commentary box and I detect anything like that, wherever I am, I always speak up. I always question the person sitting beside me as to, why such language or intimate something that, something might not be quite right with what you have said. But I can't remember it happening, to be honest. I have spoken up on past remarks to co-commentators whenever they're referred to someone, certain language that they use, but not derogatory language, just lazy language. And I have, gotten involved in that regard, but I can't really remember thinking, oh, that shouldn't have been said because it's a black guy. I can't really remember that. But as for the mankading, I know Vinod Mankad's son, actually. I talk to him on a regular basis. And I remember him coming to a cricket ground and a famous former England cricketer abused him for what his father had done. Oh, you're the son of Vinod Mankad, whatever. It got the name Mankad because he did it. But if you're playing the game by the rules, he did the right thing. Michael Atherton and myself defend people who do that on a regular basis. Atherton wrote a couple of articles in the Times about it. Obey the rules of the game. You are trying to cheat by running down the pitch before the ball is released. Do not do that. And if the bowler or someone on the team says to you, please don't do that, and you continue to do it, run them out. Get them back into the pavilion, let them learn. So all these people talking about, oh, it's not in the spirit of the game. Give me a break. I've seen so many appeals that are not in the spirit of the game that no one criticizes. They know the guy isn't out. They know he's not out, but they go a big vociferous appeal. And they have an opportunity when the umpire says not out to send it upstairs, but they don't because they know it's not out. And if I send it upstairs, you ain't going to get it anyway. So why don't people criticize that? That's not in the spirit of the game. Forget the spirit of the game. Play by the laws that are in the book.
Well, we need a new word for mancadding, don't we? Maybe need a new. Well, as you say, it's a run out, basically.
It's a run out, but it was named after Mankad because he did it. But the delivery, the Chinaman, it was named because it was a gentleman of Chinese origin who first bowled it. So you name things after people who invent it or who do it first. Just like medicines and all that. A lot of them have people's names that people invented them or discovered them. So what's the point of changing it? Mankad did it. It's a mankad, but it's a form of getting out.
Great. Who's next? Well, let's.
Right, I'm just going to say I'm thinking about Mrs. Holding. Right, we've got 8 minutes. We've got 8 minutes.
Right,
so
let's rattle through a few questions.
I'm going to rattle through them fast. Right, I'm going to bring Omar on actually. So Omar, the floor is yours.
Hi everyone. Hi Simon. Hi Mikey.
Hi Omar.
Really good to see you. Thanks very much. You are a voice of a whole generation, and I was wondering, who did you enjoy listening to when you were playing or growing up, and who of the current crop of commentators do you enjoy listening to now?
Well, Omar, to be honest, when I was growing up, I didn't really listen to a lot of commentators. I had no idea who they were. I just heard voices because we didn't have television to be watching TV. So we just heard a voice on the radio, and sometimes you weren't able to listen to the entire game. So you didn't even know who was actually speaking. Later on in life, you hear about the great commentators, you hear about John Allard, but by that time, no, I'm playing, so I'm not hearing them anyway. I got to know, listen to commentators and understand what was happening after I retired. I worked with some, I was able to listen to someone on the television, and that is how I got to then identify various commentators. And working in television in particular, you know, I sat down in the back of the box when I was working with the greats, you know, the Richard Benos and the Chappells and the Tony Greggs first in Australia, and try to sit down and to see how they did their job, to try to learn how I should do my job. Not to copy them, but just to understand how the job is done. It took me many, many years to get comfortable doing that job. Right now, you know, I work with some great guys. We are good friends. Well, I worked because I'm now retired. And, you know, people like Atherton Nasser was saying in the Sky commentary box, you know, Sean Pollock in Australia, Mackay. I work with some good guys that I enjoy worked with. So, you know, that's just the way it is. I learned from some great people, and, you know, I enjoyed the bit of time I had in the commentary box.
Great. Thanks, Mikey.
No problem.
Did you ever think that you were going to be a commentator when you were still playing?
Never. And even when I retired, a friend of mine who was in charge of the sports department at RGR, which is the local radio station, when he came to me and approached me to do radio commentary, I told him he was mad. This was a good thing, he insisted, and eventually I went.
Right, who we got next, Notes?
Annie's on the screen. Make it fast, Annie. Move it fast.
Okay, I'll do my best. Hello, Michael. It's lovely to see
Annie.
you. Very
Thank
excited.
you.
I've spoken to a few overseas cricketers that played county cricket who loved their time at their county, partly because of the challenges they found in travelling and the variation in pitches in the country. Did you enjoy your time in county cricket, and what were your challenges?
I loved my time in county cricket. To be honest, I didn't play a lot of county cricket because I came to county cricket pretty late. Annie, my first year of playing any county cricket at all was 1981 when I was playing at Rishton. And I played a few games for Lancashire, being at Rishton, some midweek games. And I loved it. And I loved it primarily because of the people I was playing with and associating with. Jack Simmons lived in Accrington, which was close to Rishton, and he would pick me up whenever we had these away games. And traveling around the country with Jack Simmons was an education and something I will never, ever forget. I love that. Then later on in life, I went to Derbyshire in the late 80s. And I went there because of Dusty Miller. You know, we are pretty good friends. We played against each other. We used to have dinner together when we played England, West Indies. And I went there only because of him. I wasn't interested in playing county cricket, really. But he approached me because Derbyshire asked him to approach me. And I enjoyed my time at Derbyshire, although I still curse him for having brought me to Derbyshire and then leaving 2 years afterwards to go to Essex.
Leaving you there.
My time at Derbyshire. You know, I made some good friends there, some guys that I still keep in contact with. And I try to enjoy things like that. I played a year at Rishton. I enjoyed that year at Rishton. Again, I made friends there. I had guys from Rishton who visited me in Jamaica. You know, I try to enjoy things like that. I try to make friends because traveling and meeting people, I think, is the greatest thing ever. It's an education, and it's opening your eyes to other people's cultures and everything that the rest of the world has to offer. So I loved it.
Correct.
Great, thanks very much, Annie. How many more questions have we got time for, Notes?
Right, well, if Mikey can put his foot on the accelerator, when he's driving. We got two. One is Paul.
Short run.
I'm going to leave Paul till last because you never know how long Paul's question's going to be. But before, I'm going to bring on somebody by the name of WG Rumble Pants, who, as we know, those of us in the know, very, very talented artist. I've no idea what he's going to ask, but I'm going to bring him on anyway.
It'll be a quick one. So Mikey, in all that time when you and the West Indies were so dominant, there must have been some batsmen out there that frustrated you, that made you sweat. How am I going to get these buggers out? Who were they?
Well, I played against a lot of great players, WG. You know, when you think, go through it country to country. When you think of my first tour to Australia, played bowling against the two Chapels, you know, they were always going to be very difficult to get out. Very difficult to get out, but they were good guys. Then when you think of England and Gooch and Gower, two outstanding players that I played against, but Boycott was the most frustrating. I would not say that I played against Boycott when he was at his best. Obviously, when you're 39, 40, 41, you're not going to be at your best. But even then, when you got rid of Boycott, you knew you had done a good job. When you think of Pakistan, I never played a test match against Pakistan. And I'm glad about that because I wouldn't want to be bowling to Zaire Abbas and Majid Khan and those guys all day because they were fantastic players. I played against them in one-day games. Later on, I played against Javed Miandad, again, another difficult guy to get out. But when you think about somebody that you don't want to be playing in your hometown, Sunil Gavaskar. Sunil Gavaskar gets you on a flat one in India. You got to just keep on looking at the clock. When is it going to be 6 o'clock? When is it going to be 6 o'clock? So, you know, those guys, fantastic players. I wouldn't want to be picking one or two out of that, but they were fantastic players. And later on, I played against, not a lot, but I played against Martin Crowe in New Zealand. I think he was a fantastic player as well.
Good question, good answer. Thank you for the question, WG, and please join the club. The sound quality you came out there and the question and the succinctness, brilliant. And Mikey, you're very modest because you know who you took the wicket of the most in your career?
Gavaskar.
11 out of 15 times.
But he was an opening batsman and we played against India regularly.
Well, that's true, but still, he was your leading victim. You could say he was your bunny.
Not really. Not after those runs that he scored. I remember bowling to him in Madras, as it was called then. And he got 250 odd on that pitch in Madras. Nah, I remember bowling to him also in Delhi on another flat one. Paul's mic is open.
It is. Apologies. My 9-year-old kid in the background. Apologies. Thanks ever so much for asking me on. I think one thing I'd say, Mikey, I've got a reputation in this club of asking questions that are longer than your run-up, so we've definitely got something in common. But I'm going to try and keep it succinct tonight. From a commentary point of view, you're probably the subject of one of the most famous commentary lines.
Before you went to that, Paul, it was never said.
Yeah, the bowler's holding the batsman's willy.
It was never said.
Was it not? Okay. Well, it's an urban myth then, but it's a great one.
Yeah, well, spoil the truth with
exactly.
With the truth.
Exactly. So my question to you is on that same thing. What's the one line or one moment in your own commentary career that you're most proud of or that sticks in your mind the most?
Oh,
if there is one.
I haven't a clue. I don't think about things like that. You know, I just react to what I see on the field. So for me to be picking something out of 30 odd years, it would be quite difficult.
Yeah, I think from my point of view, the commentary around the Mohammad Asif, the no ball scenario at Lords, that whole situation where you got very emotional was great. Was something I will always remember as setting you apart from other commentators. Was
yeah, but that was in the studio though. That was in the studio with
True. But it was a part of the analysis.
That wasn't really live cricket. I was shocked when it took place, but I wasn't really aware of exactly what was taking place until later.
You know, I've made a documentary actually about England winning the World Cup, and we've got a quote from you on it, Mikey, actually, where you were, I think you were on Crick Info, and you said it was after England's knockout in the World Cup 2015, and you said, I don't know what century England are playing cricket from, but it's not cricket from the 21st century. And it just beautifully put, actually. England had just got hammered in the 2015 World Cup and got knocked out, and it was just nicely put. So your line is going to get worldwide coverage now.
I think that was because of England in those days, deciding that they were going to try and win with singles. I'll never forget that sort of attitude that they had. I remember even speaking to Andrew Strauss when he joined the commentary team before England changed their attitude altogether. And he told me, we were at dinner, I'll never forget it, we were in Trent Bridge, just across the road from the hotel in one of those Indian restaurants, and about 8 of us were there. And we're talking about England's attitude towards one-day cricket and batting, and talking about hitting boundaries. And he said, oh, 3 twos are just as good as a 6. I nearly fell off my chair. I had to ask him, I said, Strauss, your over has 12 balls, not 6 like the rest. Eventually, they changed their attitude and they changed their thinking, thankfully.
Yeah, that's right. I've found the clip here. I might just quickly play it. No, go on. So have you got any more questions, Norts?
No, we are done. I'm more concerned about Mrs. Holding.
Yeah. We are concerned about Mrs. Holding, actually.
Yeah, and the speed
we're 3 minutes over.
It's 30 miles an hour.
Yeah, right. Listen, we'll let you go then. Mikey, many thanks for your time. And, you know, it's such a privilege to listen to you talking about the game you love and the campaigns and the mission that you're on now as well. Really fascinating. I mean, we're in total awe of your ability, both as a fast, but it's not fair, actually, that you've had the ability as a fast bowler and a commentator and now an author. It's just, it's not fair. We're not worthy. And what's more, do you know you played in 16 Test series? Do you know how many you lost? Do you know how many you lost?
1, I think.
It was 2, actually. Australia, 1975.
Oh, yes, 75, 76, and New Zealand.
2 series out of 16.
I don't call one in New Zealand.
Absolutely amazing. So, Simon, final words?
Well, the one in New Zealand was a bit of a farce, wasn't it? Because
exactly.
I think West Indies were playing against 13 players, weren't they? Which is, you know, yes. They were a good side, but it's quite tricky to play against 13.
Especially when 2 of them are wearing white coats.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, Mikey, thank you very much. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to record the quiz on an audio file, and you've got to be honest and answer the questions by return when you come home and you've got a bit of time. Okay. But in the meantime, you know, just as I say, a privilege from all of us. Thank you so much. And we miss you already on commentary. But at least we've had an hour of you tonight to make up for it. So thank you very, very much indeed.
My pleasure. My pleasure. And thanks for having me.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Mike. It's great. Great stuff.
Okay, Simon. Bye.
Great stuff. Bye-bye.